दिल से काम का कांग्रेस को आता है 5 साल दिन रात बस जनता की सेवा की है.
Hello and welcome to Jist HotSpot. If there is a question what pilots do, the answer is pilots fly airplanes. But in Tonk, where I am, the famous Tonk Ghantaghar right behind me, in all of Rajasthan, among all the voters in Rajasthan and in the Congress party, the question has a variation. The variation is, what will Sachin Pilot do? He was a member of the Lok Sabha at the age of 26, a minister in Manmohan Singh government, the president of the state unit in Rajasthan. In 2018, almost everybody was unanimous that he helped the Congress party come back to power. But then he became deputy chief minister and his trouble started. And that's when started the question, what will Sachin Pilot do next? In this episode, we explore exactly that. And who better to tell us than Sachin Pilot? The BBC.
After my undergraduate degree, I wanted to work, and I was lucky I got an opportunity to work very briefly at the BBC.
Post 2018, it's been a very tough period for young leaders.
Ambitions are important, there's no doubt about it. I think if you don't have enough ambitions, then you don't have enough drive in your belly.
There was talk about you joining BJP and you did not. There was talk about you starting a party.
देखो राहुल जी, लोग आना चाहते हैं, लाने वाला चाहिए.
When you talk about unemployment and lack of jobs, you know, you have 22 lakh new voters this time around.
Yes.
And in that scenario, do you think they will forget the 14 paper leaks in 4 years? Are you happy with that?
Not enough was done at the right time.
Let's go to the incidents from the period of July 2022. 2020, removed Deputy Chief Minister, Rajasthan Chief. Was that an uncomfortable thing to happen? Did those comments hurt you?
Which comments?
A young leader who has worked very hard for the party, helped the party gain power, Nakara, Nikamma, Gaddar, Amit Shah ke 10 crore.
Mr. Kharge and Mr. Rahul Gandhi ji, we all met. Kharge Saab said to me, as an advice and perhaps as an instruction, because he's party president, he says, "Abhi maaf karo, bhulo aur aage badho."
Hello and welcome to this edition of Hotspot. As I have said that today in the Hotspot is a leader, youngest as a member of parliament at one time, 26.
A long time ago.
Sachin Pilot has done a very things to reach where he is today. Your original home was Vedpura, Greater Noida, Sachin.
My grandfather was born there, and then my father of course joined the services, and when you're in the defense services, the country is your home, so you moved around all over the country. But yes, my grandfather was born in that village.
How did you end up in St. Stephen's?
I did my schooling in Delhi. I was in Air Force school, and I wanted to pursue undergraduate in Delhi, and at that time I was lucky. I got good marks, and I was also doing shooting at the time, so I joined the shooting team of St. Stephen's 1994.
Then an MBA from Wharton. Your education will make people say that you belong to that elite group of people. What do they have to do with the soil? But does that change your perspective when you bring it to the soil in India?
Dekho, I think we live in a misconception. I think we're pretentious, because a good solid education for anybody is important for for someone who's involved in policy making, who's involved in public service. I mean, not to compare, but Mahatma Gandhi went abroad and did his law, and so did Nehru and everybody else. So I think a good solid education, no matter what the field is important to develop a perspective that's more global, that's more inclusive, and that's more intelligent. And I think it's helped me a lot in my journey in the last 25 years.
Does it also, provide the democracy a healthier mix? that people who are studied in village schools and local colleges and somebody coming from studying from outside creates a healthier, better mix for the democracy? I think it's a good collective mix in eventually.
Ultimately, you have to pass a litmus test, which is people's faith, and they're the ultimate judge. Your background, your lineage, your education, your history, whose nephew you are, whose son you are, is up to a point a matter of discussion. The ultimate Rubicon is crossed when you go into the field, you make yourself available to the people, and if they endorse you, and that to me the ultimate test. But you're right that there are in parliament and assemblies you have a mix of people from all backgrounds. So I think it's a good eclectic mix of people from all educational backgrounds, some not so educated also, but they also provide you that sense of rustic India, what they feel and think, and it's important to have that in your processes as you make policies.
Your father, Air Force officer, joins politics, and that untimely demise. Before that, I had come to know him very closely, and he was a very popular guy among the farmers.
No, so actually his politics revolved around the farming communities, and right from the beginning, even if he was a minister in the government or in a party position, he advocated the voice of the farmers everywhere, and I think that endeared him to the people and the masses, and that's what he his aim and ambition was to strengthen and empower the farming communities.
Which is your first memory of a campaign going with him?
My first election was very, very early. I think my first election with my father was 1991. Still very young in school, but that's the first summer Lok Sabha election in the month of May that I recall. That was my first election.
So, and then you went to the BBC.
After my undergraduate degree, I wanted to work, and I was lucky I got an opportunity to work very briefly at the BBC.
What did you do?
I was doing news and current affairs, but also for the BBC World Service Radio. So that gave me an opportunity to travel in rural areas. I met some people, did some special stories. So it was a good experience. Back then, it was not digital.
So Sachin Pilot, the journalist, does he remember one story of him?
I do remember one.
Which left, that one story which left.
So there was a team that came in from BBC London, and they were covering the new policy in Haryana of declaring Haryana a dry state. I think Bansilalji was Chief Minister. So we covered the impact of that story and took all these colleagues of ours who had come in from the UK, and I was doing a lot of work on the ground reporting and getting inputs from the ground. That was an interesting story. 2-3 days we were.
Why didn't it happen then?
What happened?
The dry state. Haryana is one of the most wet places.
I know, but that time he had made an election promise. He did that. There was lots of opposition. Ultimately, they removed that policy and they went back to being not a dry state.
You wanted to join the army?
I have joined the army.
Yeah, territorial army.
Yes.
But you wanted at one time passionate to do it. Did you qualify or something?
No, the Air Force, because my grandfather was in the army.
Yes.
He was not a commissioned officer. He was not very educated. My father was a fighter pilot in the Air Force. So like a young son, most sons want to be what their fathers are. So I wanted to join the Air Force, but then my eyesight was not that great. Okay. So I left that. But I did finish my mission and I got commissioned to the TA about 12 years ago.
Do you remember your first election? You were 26 years old. Do you remember it?
Vividly.
Really? How Dosa is still the home territory advantage?
So that election was interesting because in Rajasthan there are 25 Lok Sabha seats and Congress party only got 4 seats.
Yeah.
And I won by a big margin. That was my first election. And it was difficult because I was new, my father was not around. And most people feel that having a family in politics makes things easier, but it also sets the bar that much higher. People expect that much more. And I lost my father, 4 or 5 years before I contested the election. So it was pretty much, a solo effort in that sense. But I must tell you, the people are so conscientious of the fact that we're fighting a first election. They were lenient, they were nice, they were kind, and I got a good majority. So that election will always be a special election in my mind.
Does that make you closer to people when you find that you're a newcomer and how ordinary people who have not known you accept you with open arms? Does it make you do better for them?
That, I tell you, that's an emotional connect that one can only experience. I can't describe it. So, pehle election mein to, women, older people, the kind of support I got was unprecedented. I won by 1,25,000 votes, where everybody all around me, all the seats Congress party lost. That was a special election, but wo jo logon ka rishta hai, wo I think it's also special to this country. I don't see it anywhere else.
A lot of people took note of you in 2009 when you emerged as what is called a giant killer. Kiran Maheshwari, one of the big BJP leaders from Rajasthan, you trounced her in
नहीं तो हुआ क्या?
2009.
From 4 to 9, we both were members of parliament. She was from Udaipur, I was from Dausa, and both the constituencies got reserved.
Okay.
And in 2009, the party asked me to contest from Ajmer, and BJP asked her to contest from Ajmer also. So हम दोनों, we were together in Lok Sabha for 5 years. Then we contested in the same seat. And again, Ajmer was a tough seat. Congress had not won in 20 years or so. I won that election, but I maintained very good relations with Maheshwari ji. Of course, she passed away a few years ago now.
One thing which I'll ask that, when you come in early, your first day, first section, that first speech, did somebody help you? Were there mentors who helped you with speech?
I didn't do all that. I did my own research, my own planning, and by then I had enough experience, enough confidence to, do what I should be doing in Parliament. So,
then the first Union Ministry, 2012, September. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh inducted you. Did he call you or somebody else called you?
He called me. He called me.
What did he say?
He and Mrs. Gandhi were sitting together. He called me and he said, Sachin, we like you to join my ministry, and I said, I'm
Corporate affairs.
My first was telecommunications.
A portfolio held by your father?
My father held that portfolio, yeah.
Nostalgic? When you walked into that office?
Of course it is. I had gone there as a younger person.
You've been to that ministry at that time with your father?
I used to go and meet him, have lunch or whatever. So
Okay.
It was interesting.
Then corporate.
Corporate affairs.
So what did that stint do to you? Did you realize, that was a very tumultuous period for the Congress party and the UPA. There were scams of scams, and there was one felt a very strong need emerging for the Congress to cultivate newer, younger leaders.
And we did. I think the Congress that way is far ahead of most other parties, because to bring the leadership of young people into the front lines, that's what I think Mrs. Gandhi started that in 2004. A lot of us were given tickets to fight elections, and we won.
Yes, you can't deny her role, not just Manmohan Singh.
No, I did not. She single-handedly, I think, made that effort. I remember Rahul in 2003 winter. She called some of us to the party office and said, "Look, you're younger people." I was 25 or something. She said, "Look, we are making a manifesto for the next Lok Sabha elections. Besides the committee, inputs from you people, university, campuses, young people, professionals. What do they think? What do they expect the party to do for them in this election? You must give us a feedback." I think there were 10, 12 of us from all over the country. So we gave our notes. So I think the desire to get inputs from the unstructured spectrum of the Congress party. I was not in any position to contribute officially, but she made that effort to get us all on board. That showed that she was wanting to push younger people into leadership roles back in 2004.
You see, Mrs. Gandhi is a shy public figure. She is enigmatic and she stays quiet. But very little is talked about her role in these day-to-day hand-holding, day-to-day grooming. How does there was a slew of new leaders who came up in that period. Did she actively, do you feel that Congress party today owes a lot to her?
I think so.
Because that's one role not talked about much.
Because in the Congress, we keep changing every decade or so. But Mrs. Gandhi, I think, was ahead of her times, because now today everyone talks about young people, young ministers, young MPs. 20 years ago, that was not the go word, and she made that effort. And consistently, see, you can also appoint somebody, make them MP, MLA, but then not give them any role or responsibility. But within the party, she made sure that we were all, our voices were heard, we were taken very seriously. And that shows the leadership's intent of what they want to do for the road ahead. That way, I think, full credit to her for initiating that in early 2000.
See, but I think that post 2018, it's been a very tough period for young leaders. It's been, all those I see who were groomed in that period. And everybody started, I think not just the Congress, but I think the public was looking forward to a new leadership. Jyotiraditya Scindia, Jiten Prashada, RPN Singh, Sachin Pilot, Milind Deora. What has happened, what one suddenly finds that some might have grown, but they have grown and moved out of the party. And some who have not really grown. They may not say that in the last 5 years, 6 years, they have achieved a certain degree of prominence or eminence that they could have.
You see, the
Tough period. Why?
Okay, so I think a leader's political fortunes are very closely intertwined with the party's fortune, right?
Okay.
So 10 years we were in government. At that time, whatever space the party could give, they gave us and the leaders, etc. Last 9 years we've been out of power, and now we've started winning state elections. But one has to also realize that not everything happens to according to how you want it to happen, or your plans are, your timelines. You know, there's a whole political landscape. There are many parties. There's power structures. There's winnings and there's losses. So that has to be taken into account. But overall, generally, you're right that whole young generation that was groomed 15, 20 years ago, it has to some extent, I think, delivered. May not be to the extent that you think, but I also feel that with time things will evolve, and things will get better, for not just for one individual but for a generation of leaders.
You say that this is how the cookie crumbles in politics.
Yes, because you have to realize that we lost 2 elections just like we won 2 elections, and now we have a new opportunity next year. So I think it's the game is not over yet.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen next year.
Because why I say that that young leadership, is it very difficult for young leaders to be staying out of power? The pressures are so great now.
No, I think it's not about staying out of power. It's about delivering on what you have set yourself for, right? And I think ambitions are important. There's no doubt about it. I think if you don't have enough ambitions, then you don't have enough drive in your belly, right? And there's nothing wrong in being ambitious, but it must not subsume you. It must not consume you. But
is that why you think that there was a very difficult time when you didn't? There was talk about you joining BJP and you did not. There was talk about you starting a party.
There's all talks all the time. If you're a political person, there will all be gossips, rumors, talks, etc. But that time it was different. I don't want to go into it right now because I had to face sedition charges and things of that nature, which I don't think was something I could tolerate. So there were certain reactions I had to come up with. But I'm saying that generally speaking, your question was, is it tough to start a path? No. In fact, I think the real opportunity to groom your leadership is when in opposition.
Okay.
That is the time when you can be real voice of the people. You can, I spent 5 years as opposition leader in Rajasthan. I was party president from 2013 to 2018. Those 5 years, BJP had a 4th, 5th majority in Rajasthan. Mr. Modi, thank you. Mr. Modi had become Prime Minister. And wo 5 saal. Now, I was a minister in Delhi. I moved to party presidentship 2013. Those 5 years, the dharnas, the padyatras, the lathi charges, the jails, the bhook hartal, the sangharsh that we did 5 years. Those are the years in opposition where your leadership comes into the forefront. And I got that chance, but it was a very, very tough period. But politically, it is a good period because I was able to get people along. I was able to build an organization that had almost collapsed. We reduced to 21 seats out of 200. To come from that, to increase the tally 5-fold to get majority, takes serious effort.
But such in 2014 and 18 onwards, that's when somebody saw that you could be a good political manager and motivator. You see, not only you brought a moribund party from 21 odd seats to perhaps a very cohesive unit, not just in terms of getting people to aspire for power, but also perhaps creating for the first time a coming together of very disparate caste groups which would never come together. It was very difficult to bring them together. The Meenas and the Gujars and others coming together, that was a great combination.
देखो राहुल जी, लोग आना चाहते हैं, लाने वाला चाहिए. You have to be able to commit yourself to being that bridge. No communities have animosity, from generations. Someone has built it. But if you're able to bridge that gap, you're able to assimilate emotions and people's efforts together. And that's what leadership does for you. That's what a leader should do.
Is that what is lacking nowadays? Maybe in BJP, what people say that it creates a more apprehension. But do you think, but BJP has succeeded in creating sync between a lot of subcastes and OBCs and Dalits in the last few years. But is that what is lacking Congress in all over the country? That's what should do the effort?
So I think there are 2 different points. One is that BJP has a different way of operating. They focus more on emotive issues that gets society, thinking of different things. Congress is a mass-based party, that is more than 130 years old. So our way of functioning is different. But times have changed. What he said about Rajasthan is true, that you have to bring people together. If you are a dividing force, it will never happen. You have to be someone that brings people together, communities together. You need to have people's faith. देखो बिना faith के होता नहीं है. No leaders, no community will come to you if they don't feel that you will, actually be working in their interest. And that you can prove only by giving time and showing results on the ground. So that's what I think we have to do as a political party also.
Is 2023 anywhere close to 2018? Or that was a real high?
Not at all. I think that time we were in opposition, so the challenge was much more. We were short of resources. People thought, it's difficult for the Congress to come back. But this time we are in government. We have started campaigning much earlier. We have enough resources at our disposal. So I think this time we should be able to break that trend. Historically, in Rajasthan for the last 30 years, it's been 5 years BJP, 5 years Congress.
It's a seesaw.
Seesaw. Hamisha hota hai. But this time I think there's a good possibility that we'll actually get the mandate.
You see, your government has made... first, let's discuss your campaign this time in Tonk. Although it's, I think, somebody like you who has campaigned for the party in 2018, you're still campaigning in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and other places. I want to know that in Tonk, how is the challenge? Last time you won with the second highest margin in all of Rajasthan.
Yeah.
But this time, there is a bit of a, I think, in the air that there is one segment strongly in favor of Sachin Pilot. In fact, I would like to insert in between what people told me while I was discussing around, that they are actually angry, what they don't say in names, with some people who did not let Sachin Pilot become Chief Minister. This is what people told me. When I asked them कि आप किससे नाराज हैं, BJP से या कांग्रेस से, so their comment was कि उन्होंने जिन्होंने सचिन को मुख्यमंत्री नहीं बनने दिया. आप लोग नाराज हैं, खुश हैं?
नाराज.
किससे?
जो बनने नहीं दिया उनको.
Was it is this why Tonk voted for you?
Well, this district actually is between my earlier constituency, which is now reserved, Dausa and Ajmer. Tonk is right in the middle. And यहाँ पे पुराना हमारा connection भी है. I mean, I've been visiting for years now. So this constituency is it was held by the BJP last time.
Yeah.
So I won this election and by a good margin. And of course, there are always two sides. You'll have some people saying something, some people saying something. But generally, this constituency, I think I've been able to do a lot of work here. So I'm quite confident that this time again we'll get a very.
CM के लिए vote किया था. That was one of the element. I can see.
Perhaps. But I'm saying that what happens. It's not all of our destinies in our hands. So what decision the party takes, who gets what positions, that's a matter of discussion post elections, not now.
You see, you made huge election promises. Lot of guarantees, 500 ka cylinder, 10,000 to Mahila, 10 guarantee of 2018, you are saying that have been delivered. Do you think that your government, I will not say gehlot government, because then you will think that I'm trying to drive a wedge between you and Mr. Gehlot. So, do you think that the government has been able to deliver, or there are some things which you would have done, you could have thought?
I can't say that no government can fulfill all people's expectations, but generally speaking, in terms of social welfare, in terms of policy making, in 2018, we in a manifesto said that we'll bring forward, schools, scholarship, welfare programs, pensions, etc. It's a party agenda, and we've been able to largely implement that. We're also giving guarantees for the future, and I think the difference is when the BJP is giving 80 crore people subsidized food, that's not a revdi. But the minute Congress government gives you a little bit of subsidy on power or on food items, it's called a revdi. But I rather spend money on pensions and schools and welfare programs than write off loans for corporates.
Targeted
schemes. You rather do this than write off loans of corporations of lakhs of crores. वो भी तो बैंक करते हैं ना. Lakhs of crores written off. No one talks about that. But this money is well spent on infrastructure and social welfare as opposed to a few individuals.
You have, in the last few days, I'm hearing your speeches, and you have talked about the BJP government's promise of 2 crore jobs. A failure?
Total failure. Job creation has been a spectacular failure of the BJP.
Because it's felt here that there are no jobs.
It's true, because you see, look at the data. Government data says that we have the highest ever unemployment in the history of this country. Now, who is responsible for that? For a party that came to power promising jobs and growth for young people, today is miserably failed on that front.
But you've been a central minister. Do you think it is a one-way street in terms of creating employment? State governments have no liability?
Because central government has to be the leader in that, because it's a national economy, the policy making, the hand-holding with the state governments, giving opportunities, investments. Why are investments not coming in? People are moving out of China, but why are that investments not being focused on India? We're losing the opportunity, right? And the macroeconomic policy making affects job creation, and that's responsibility of the central government.
But then, when you talk about unemployment and lack of jobs, you have 22 lakh new voters this time around.
Yes.
And in that scenario, do you think they will forget the 14 paper leaks in 4 years? Are you happy with that? That you failed to give these jobs? 2019 Grade 3 librarians, September 21 REIT, JE Civil, September 21 inspectors, sub-inspectors, High Court, LDC, Forest, Health.
The list is long, and I think it's very unfortunate. How can anybody be happy when see, the reason I feel so strongly about this, Rahul, is that if a person from a rural background, his son or daughter goes to study in the city, वो कोचिंग करेगा, ट्यूशन लेगा, रेंट पे रहेगा, मेस में खाना खाएगा, spends a few lakh rupees to prepare, and 2 साल की मेहनत goes complete waste if the paper is leaked and then cancelled. And that's why I feel that nobody has a right to play with the future of our young people. Nobody. And that's why I was very strongly in favor of taking action against people who are involved in this.
You wanted the commission to be dissolved?
I wanted reforms in the Public Service Commission.
Yeah.
So 2 things happened. The leadership in Delhi took cognizance of my issues and instructed the state government to make a new law where anyone involved in paper leaks, the punishment was increased to life imprisonment. The only state in India to have done that. Now that's surely going to be a deterrent for people involved in paper leaks. The other issue was reforming the Public Service Commission that conducts the examinations, does the interviews. It really lays the roadmap for the next generation of bureaucracy. Unfortunately, we were not able to do enough reforms in the Public Service Commission. As recently as 3 months ago.
Government, Sachin, that's what the problem is.
No,
that when you speak in a third-person tone, that the state government.
I'm being very open about it. No? I'm saying I raised these issues. They were taken up, but the one issue of Public Service Commission that I wanted to reform, we couldn't finish in time because elections were called. And as late as last 2 months ago, a member was nominated to this position, who then even the CM said is a mistake. We shouldn't have done it. मैंने इतना कहा था, मैंने have a criteria, a background check, a credibility. But because when someone is involved in that constitutional position, he or should be above suspicion and above criticism. वो हम लोग time पे नहीं कर पाए. That's something we could have done. But I'm sure next time when we get a chance, we'll do it.
Do you think there is this disconnect is what fuels the fires? Yeah, you had to launch an agitation because you were complaining that there was a skid gloving of the corruption during the period of the prior government and the chief minister. Did something happen?
So I said that we must take strong action because as party president, I promised people that we will act on corruption of the previous government. Some action was taken. Now, of course, we've taken the judicial recourse to get to that, but not enough was done at the right time. That's why I said that we must take it up. Look, Rahul, I have to raise people's issues when I feel strongly. And
even if sometimes unpopular with the state government of your own party?
But whatever I said was not wrong.
No,
it can be interpreted differently, that's okay. But I think as a public person, as a politician, as someone who had committed this to the people as party president, it is my job to deliver. Agar wo time pe nahi ho raha hai, then I had to raise that voice. But the party listened to it. You see, the leadership in India, we are a national party. So the AICC took that into consideration and instructed the government to make these new legislation and laws. So that was a positive. What came out in the end was a positive result. No, the outcome was positive. That's what matters.
See, I agree with you. The fact that in politics, at times you have to be unpopular also. I recall that incident which is being attacked by the BJP, that Rahul Gandhi said that the ordinance protecting people with conviction should be torn. But eventually, isn't it a healthy move that this should happen? It hurt Rahul Gandhi. But I think it was a progressive move to get people who have convictions behind them
Simple
out
logic
of politics.
is not all progressive right steps can be popular all the time. Right? You have to have the courage of conviction to say the right thing and do the right thing. And history will judge you for what you said and did. It's as simple as that.
But the problem is that right now you're not being judged by history, you're being judged by your own chief minister.
Doesn't matter. I don't think anyone judges me poorly because whatever I'm saying is not against anyone's interest. It's in the party interest, it's in the people's interest and young people's interest. So, there may be a different way of approaching things. Someone may fully agree, disagree, but ultimately, I think what is being done or is being asked to be done is for the interest of the people of Rajasthan.
Then let's go to the incidents from the period of July 2020. Removed Deputy Chief Minister, Rajasthan Chief. Was that an uncomfortable thing to happen? Did it hurt you?
Well,
Sachin as a person.
Politics mein na, Rahul, there are always ups and downs. And if it's something that I was hankering for, a position or a post, then I could have just let it go. But I felt what was being done was not proper. And like I said, I don't want to go into it now because of the election chal raha hai, to say these things. But I thought it was wrong and I took a stand against it. Again, the leadership in Delhi formed a committee to look into what I was saying. For almost 2 years, we didn't have a Dalit minister in the cabinet. Today we have 4. A lot of our workers जिन्होंने पैसा खर्च किया, जेब से खर्च किया, लाठियाँ खाई, जेलों में गए, उनको मान सम्मान हम ढंग से नहीं दे पा रहे थे उस समय तक. Today we have a host of Congress leaders who have made chairmen, corporations, given responsibilities. So the involvement of the worker, you see, everybody can't be given a post, but a pat on the back. You know,
Engagement.
recognition of their efforts, their involvement in decision making, their stakeholdership to be increased. You know, the bureaucracy should feel, ये party का worker है, we have to respect that person. So if we do all of that, and then I keep saying this, it's not the government that makes the party, it is the party that makes a government. So party workers on a respect, ये तेरा मेरा ना करके, doesn't matter who it is. And I keep saying that, why oblige bureaucrats every time we come into power? Oblige party workers, no? My issue was that why 20, 30, 40 ex-bureaucrats, the minute they retire at 5 p.m., that night they're given appointment letter for a lucrative political posting. See, one odd we can understand, but majority should be with the people who have worked for the organization, no? And then people who are working will say, well, हम 5 साल काम करेंगे, government बनेगा तो.
Do you think that the old large generation finds it difficult to accept this kind of change easily?
देखो, there's one thing in life that's inevitable, that's change. If you accept it nicely, you're a happier person. You begrudge, you shout and scream, ultimately it will happen anyway. So might as well, make peace with it and do it gracefully.
Did Manesar incident teach Sachin Pilot something?
No,
Was it a rebellion against the party or a situation?
Okay, let me put it this way. I was not happy about what happened to me personally and the political situation. And if there was any other way, I would have found it. But unfortunately, I was left with no choice. There was nothing that I could do except for what happened. But like I said, what happened after that also was important because the leadership in Delhi, of course, that time Mrs. Gandhi was Congress president and was locked out, etc. But post that, the party has taken into account all the things that were happening and not happening, and did some course correction. And that's why I feel today the party is in a position to break the 30-year record of not winning a state election.
You mean by putting a cap on the issues and tackling them slowly?
So collective leadership, involvement in decision making, not ad hoc, ham-handed way of just giving favors to people that you feel are needed. So that all that happened 2.5 years ago. So today we are united, we are strong. The party worker is charged, and we have a real chance in winning the mandate of the people this time.
See, I have been in situations. Everybody is in a situation. Did those comments hurt you?
Which comments?
A young leader who has worked very hard for the party, helped the party gain power, Nakara, Nikamma, Gaddar, Amit Shah के 10 करोड़.
एक छोटी खबर नहीं पड़ी होगी किसी ने कि पायलट साहब को हटाना चाहिए प्रदेश कांग्रेस कमेटी अध्यक्ष थी. हम जानते थे कि निकम्मा है, नाकारा है, कुछ काम नहीं कर रहा है, खाली लोगों को लड़वा रहा है. मेरे साथ हो कि नहीं हो, मैं यहाँ बैंगन बेचने नहीं आया हूँ, मैं यहाँ कोई सब्जी बेचने नहीं आया हूँ, मैं मुख्यमंत्री बना आया हूँ. तय कर लो तुम. कल तो अशोक गहलोत के घर खड़े थे, परसों तुम AICC में CP जोशी के कमरे के बाहर खड़े थे. मैं कैसे विश्वास तुम्हारे पर करूं?
समझना चाहिए उनकी 30, 40, 50 साल की राजनीति है. हम भी बड़े बड़े पदों पर रहे हैं, केंद्र में रहे हैं, राज्य में रहे हैं, निर्वाचित रहे हैं, पब्लिक के सामने काम किया है. अगर कोई उंगली उठा सकता है बता दे हमारे को. इस तरह के आरोप लगाने से, सुनने मेरी बात, इस तरह के आरोप लगाने से कोई किसी का लाभ नहीं होने वाला है. आरोप तो मैं भी लगा सकता हूं, जबान खोलने में क्या दिक्कत है किसी को, लेकिन हम संयमित रहे. तमाम गालियां खाने के बाद भी हमने पार्टी का अनुशासन नहीं तोड़ा, आज भी नहीं तोड़ रहे हैं. हम चाहते हैं कि हम पब्लिक की बात को उठाते रहें, सच्चाई के लिए लड़ते रहें, युवाओं की बातों को रखें. आरोप लगाना बड़ा आसान होता है, लेकिन पब्लिक को जवाब देना बड़ा मुश्किल होता है.
Do you think that was unwanted? Do you want to explain somewhere what you went through?
अब तो मुझे बताओ, have you heard anything from my mouth? Have I ever said anything to anybody in public? See, it's very easy to allege. I can say, Rahul ने ये किया, Rahul ने वो किया. The point is that if it's unsubstantiated, if it's dripped in falsehood, it has no basis and it's untrue, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You ask the question, was I hurt? Who will not be hurt? But the important thing is to respond. Did I utter a word that was unparliamentarian? Did I disregard anybody else? But all these things, you have to look at the long term. I could have also easily made 100 allegations, 10 times worse. But I think that was not required. And ultimately, like I said, 6 months ago, Mr. Kharge and Mr. Rahul Gandhi ji, we all met. Kharge Saab said to me, as an advice and perhaps as an instruction, because he's party president, he says, "Abhi maaf karo, bhulo aur aage badho." Because he's right, time won't come back. So whatever someone called me, all those names that you took, of course they're on record. But if I were to respond and keep bringing that up, who am I helping? Nobody. So I've decided to forgive all that, move on.
You basically cut the branch on which you are sitting.
And even last year, the rebellion in the party, all that happened. I think.
What was 25th September?
So it's never happened before, no? The Congress party leadership.
I've never.
Mrs. Gandhi is Congress president, and her orders were openly defied. In the history of the Congress party,
I've rarely seen this happen.
no legislative meeting has been boycotted and open rebellion like that happened. It was indiscipline that I've never seen before. But again, if I keep harping about that, what are we going to achieve? It happened last year, and last year is gone. Now we look at the next year, which is New Year. So
then it does not happen.
Yeah. So we've all moved on, and we should, because
Is there some kind of a truce now that most of the people who you thought can win elections have been given tickets?
so distribution has been fair in sense. Our opinion was sought. See, not everybody will be happy with all the tickets. There are always some, misses and hits and misses. But largely, it is by discussion, by survey reports, by feedback. And I've always stood for getting younger people more tickets. That's my way of doing politics. But whatever party decides in the end, that is the final decision, and we have to make that candidate win.
But is there a difficult situation emerging for people like you, that there are a lot of independents and others who get absorbed into the power structure, they become allies, and then they get tickets, and the old traditional Congress workers who might have lost elections to the independents, they get denied tickets. 12 of them have been given tickets. Is that something that the Congress aspires?
Rahul ji, we have elections in 10 days' time. So I'll repeat myself.
Okay.
Whatever tickets the party is given in the end is the official candidate. We have to make that person win. Before the announcement, yes, you give your views, you agree, disagree, whatever. But once the party decides, I think we should then call it a day and work for the candidate who's the official candidate.
Darshan Gujar, Karoli, went to BJP. Subhash Meel, BJP. Jyoti Khandelwal, BJP, denied ticket. Pandit Suresh Mishra. A drift of these leaders? Is it because there was self-seeking or?
Well, I think every election, every state, there is always a back and forth. Many BJP leaders have joined the Congress party. Many Congress people have gone to BJP. It's now more rampant than earlier, which is true. But that's how it is. Every election season, people choose whatever party they want to.
When I was leaving, I was told, few people told me, "Ye Lal Diary kya hai, Sachin?" Is it a figment of Rajendra Guda ji coming in? One of the men who in fact saved your government at one time.
Yeah, in fact, he was very close to Mr. Gehlot, and he was in the BSP, was brought in, made a minister, and something obviously must have gone wrong. But yeah, that again,
Is it true a Lal Diary or a figment?
Look, I have never seen it, so I don't know. But I keep reading about it, but I haven't seen anything come out of it that's substantial so far.
If we look at the whole this thing, we recently saw that you and Gehlot sir was together in Priyanka Gandhi's car. So, was there some calming words exchanged?
I think you're getting wrong impression. As far as Ashok Gehlot ji and I are concerned, we worked together for years now.
Yeah.
So there is no personal.
There's no breakdown.
No. There may be a different way of approaching things politically, but at a personal level, he's much older than I am. He's almost 25 years older than me, and my upbringing is such that we always give regard and respect to anybody older than me. So I think that at a personal level, there's no issue at all, and there should be. There shouldn't be.
Then you are credited with, which I said, creating a wonderful social chemistry. Is it working on the ground this time?
I think it still lasted. Like I said, we have to find people on the ground in districts who are able to carry that chemistry together and move forward. So I think we're still well placed in that regard.
One more thing which people are curious to know, you may say right now election time, it is being talked about that you had a meeting with Rahul Gandhi in which there was this talk that you could be chief minister. Do these kind of things happen really?
What happens in a personal meeting, I can't disclose.
Okay.
And it's not right also. But of course, you talk about future, talk about the present, and if you don't talk with the leader, who else will you talk to? So we have open discussions. Many things are said, many things are understood and accepted. But I don't think it's right for me to divulge exactly what happens in a private conversation.
Okay. Do you think Rahul Gandhi has grown in leaps and bounds after that Bharat Jodo Yatra? There's something
Certainly.
people are seeing, the social media is witnessing.
Certainly. I think what he's done is a tremendous effort. I mean, to have walked 4,000 kilometers on foot every single day, it takes serious effort. And the commitment that he's shown was something that I think his critics were flabbergasted. I think they had no idea that he could do that, and he did with the mission of uniting people. It was not about winning votes or accusing the BJP. It was about getting people together. The acrimony in society has to subside. People have to come together as a society. And what he's done, unemployment, issues of young people, that has endeared him not just to the Congress workers, but across people in the whole nation.
See, people find him at mechanics workshop, at different kind of places. And opposition says that this is, this is tokenism. But isn't it a signal also to Congress workers and leaders to actually go and get to the masses? Perhaps is that what you think that is lacking in the current Congress?
It's not lacking. No, it's not lacking. See, when you lose, when you don't form the government, you'll have 100 advisors. Ye nahi hua, wo nahi hua. Congress party is a very strong grassroots party even today. And I think what Mr. Gandhi is doing is reaching out to different social groups. People whose voices are not heard, who are not on top of your minds every morning when you read the newspapers, right? So today, at least by doing that, he's making you think about the lives of those individuals and what they do as a society, kind of hard work that they put in. But I think it's good for him to reach out, connect, and yes, it's symbolic in the sense that if he can do it, why can't others do it? So to karna bhi chahiye. I think it's good for politicians to engage in that activity.
See, this time around about Rajasthan, there is one very interesting thing. Who wins Rajasthan, but the second is what happens to Sachin Pilot. This is one of the big takes people are looking at. Where is Sachin Pilot going from here?
I don't know. Who knows what lies in the future? My first responsibility is to work and make sure we form the government here, win this election. And who gets to do what job, what role the party assigns me.
You're a CWC member.
Yes, but that's what I've been assigned at the national level. But what
would you like to work more in the state?
It all depends. Like I said, I've worked in national politics, state politics, MLA, MP, state president, central minister. So I've done both. So whatever the party feels I should do, and I can be more helpful.
Last question. If there is a talk about always, which at times you was angry, you took out an agitation, that there is some kind of a tandem between the Congress top leadership in Rajasthan and the BJP top leader in Rajasthan. यानी वसुंधरा जी and Ashok Gehlot का एक tandem है, वो rhythm में काम करते हैं, and it might be an unstated thing, but
so I think on that topic, Mr. Ashok Gehlot has clarified his position multiple times. I don't need to repeat what he said. He said what he had to say on that.
Sachin, we hope that you do very well in these elections, and perhaps in the coming days, not only the question that who is winning Rajasthan is resolved, but also what's happening to Sachin Pilot and where he is going is done. Thank you very much for joining us on HotSpot.